item of old business is the Wall Lake Township current status, I guess.
To give you an idea, as of this year, if you take into consideration what they owe for this year, not all of it, of course, you could
What are
argue.
you calling this year now, Adam?
I'm sorry, fiscal year, which
Fiscal year
would be
that
July
ended, or the one that we're
through
in?
July of this year, of last year, through June of this year.
Of
They
08?
of 08 through 09. 08, 09.
So the one you're currently operating?
Yes. In the current operating year, Wall Lake owes roughly $2,772. Let's just round it. $2,772.
Okay.
From last year, they still owed roughly $1,800. Comes to about a little less than $45.75.
Okay.
Just to work in round numbers.
That's the total they were behind.
That is the total that they owe for the previous year and the current year.
Were they current up to then? I mean, they're caught up?
No, this has been going on for some time.
Right.
They have continued to hold over a balance for years. And so you could argue that depending on how you define applying this check, are they current? Well, yes, but they haven't paid anything for this year.
Well, I know that in the past, a couple times they have sent checks. Did that get applied to their oldest balance?
It is sitting right here, and that is part of the discussion tonight. They have sent us a check for $1,385. As you can see, that does not even cover the $1,800 they owed from last year. It does say on the check, though, and this is where it's an issue for us. The memo portion of the check says first half 2008-2009 budget. My understanding is I have to apply it to this year's funds because it is the intent of this check is defined on the check on how it be funded. So therefore, I'll pay, my plan is to pay for part of what they owe this year, but they continue to hold over the $1,800 that they owe us.
So that is the half of the $2,700.
So technically, you could make the argument that they have paid the first half of this year, but they still haven't paid the $1,800 they owe from last year. Which was held over from the year before that, which was held over from the year before that.
Well, I say, is that $1,800 all they really owed, or is that just 1 year's and they still had?
They have owed that $1,800. They have something a couple of years back, roughly 2004. They failed to make part of their payment. When 2005 came, they paid 2005. When 2006 came, they paid 2006. When 2007 came, they paid 2007. They never paid the 2004 payment.
Okay.
So every year this continues to keep rolling up.
So really, their old bill was only the $1,800.
Have you ever tried to talk to them?
We have tried contacting them. We have sent them certified letters. Our next step, to be all honest, is to send them a letter from the city attorney. That is our next step.
I can't understand why they will not respond.
We have not received it. Like I said, we sent that letter in September, and in December we get a check.
Yeah.
And the number doesn't match any of our,
Doesn't match anything, does it?
Yeah, it's
Well, what did you send? I mean, that doesn't match anything when you send the bill or anything?
Oh, you might have a copy of the bill. Isn't that what you had?
Yeah,
You'll see that it says it's 2008-2009 and how much the maintenance fund was and the capital fund was for the total. And then below, you'll see that the past due reminder is that they still owe $1,878.
So they paid you, this one, that check isn't for half of this?
It's half of the 27.
It's half of the... So basically they paid the first half of this year, but did not acknowledge the past due $1,800.
Right. I wonder if they're...
We sent them a full, to be all honest, the packet we sent them...
I wonder if she doesn't understand that it says past due reminder that... Does she interpret that only $1,800 of the $2,700 is past due?
You know though, Polk, when you... This is not...
As long as
the only thing we sent them.
As long as this went on, they ought to know. I know, I agree.
Yes, but this was also sent to her after this whole discussion started. There was a because you might see it was originally sent to him on July 15th, which is what we do. Every township gets one at the beginning of the year. We sent this to her in September with also the information showing what they had paid every year for several years, showing that they never made a full payment years ago and that they still owed this money. So, and that was all sent in the certified check, the certified letter.
Would you folks be open? I'd be glad, since I'm on the city council, it's the city that's, having to pay the, funds and so on, but they're not paying. Would you object if I contacted them personally, and then perhaps if I get no response from them, and I first call, and I'd even reserve the possibility to go out and personally visit them with them. If that fails, then perhaps resort to the city attorney writing a letter to them. Would that be acceptable?
I think that'd be the worst.
Well, I think, yeah, we ought to give them,
maybe it's just a matter of them not...
send on a damn attorney after you.
Yeah, maybe it's just a lot, misunderstanding on their part, that they don't get the $1,800, and I'll...
I don't know.
What's that?
Yeah, because
I don't
they've
know.
over the past. I
Who
mean, it's not new that it like.
Who else is that? Bill Colby?
Yep, Bill Colby, and used to be
He died.
he died, and they said, I heard who the other one is now. I can't think of it right now.
The shame of it is that we can't even get anyone to return our calls or respond to our letters, so that if it was a misunderstanding, that we could even communicate that to them.
Well, being as we aren't getting any response that way, if somebody wants to personally chase them down, I guess that's
I don't know. Maybe I don't want to do this. Go ahead, Bill.
I'll just say, if there's any problems with it, just refer to Jake.
Yeah.
Bill, goddamn, he's the one that's doing it. I never this.
Yeah, no, I'll be nice and friendly and just explain it.
Well, I don't see, I really don't see what the hell the problem is either. I can't see. I think they had I know they had some issues with,
Well, this would go back to the Mahana days.
I know they had
Well-
big issues with that.
Well, and Bill Colby he was all on a tizzy the one time
That
he
one
came.
time he was up
And
there, he didn't understand what was going on.
I mean, I don't know what his problem was, but
That's, shortly after that's when they switched some of the sections.
yeah.
It took the townships.
But they were going to do that.
There's some
I'm pretty
sections
sure they
there.
were going to do that anyway, but.
Yeah,
But
that's
you
all
know,
before I was involved.
Those trustees
They're getting
covered, like for
Probably more down there than they would have been here.
by the county or.
I think so.
Well, Bruce,
I know they are. Yes, they're not
They
paying,
switched them.
maybe they're not paying them either.
Well, that's the thing. You don't know what.
No fire department when she went to get.
Like I said, I know when Mrs. Stabby used to do the books, we got checked twice a year.
I don't think we'd have anything like that. as a
Well, Norma Hope's
trustee.
been doing it ever since I've been on.
Yeah, yeah.
Said she'd call.
But I just remember when we used to get the
I think
checks.
she went on.
No. Well, I would
What's his name?
She's
The auditor.
I can't remember who the
Call
other
that
one
morning.
is. You don't know who the other one is?
Yeah.
I just heard too the other day, and I
She
can't
said she'd
remember.
call me. I gave her my number and everything. Never heard a
Basically,
word.
one meeting.
That last week.
Are we ready to?
Well,
She said, I think.
so then I guess
I would say,
we'll pursue that method for now and see what,
I
mean, we're gonna have the same problem
Well, you never know.
when it comes time to start getting,
You know, if somebody would
We'll know by
get hurt in
then.
the cemetery or
We'll
something.
know by this,
Yeah.
That's
once he gets this cleared up, if I have another meeting here shortly for this
We
2080.
don't have it, then.
well,
If I see Derek,
we'll have
I'll be down there sometime too, and like you, I might just slip in there.
meeting to officially approve the
See what the hell
budget
they're
too.
doing.
If you hear of anything, let me know.
I'll, I see Jim once in a while.
So I guess,
Yeah, you ask him too. What's his name?
Anything else on the Wally
Well, I said
situation?
she'd call me, but she didn't. She wrote it down.
any other old business?